Hi, you're with India Post Live. I'm Ishan Russell, and India Post Live is, of course, India's first online news conversation web TV where you too can participate in this conversation. Just go to indiapostlive.com and log in and post your comments over there. And while you're at the website, you can go check out a pretty cool game that we have for you over there. You can play as Arvind Kejriwal, Rahul Gandhi, or Narendra Modi and play the vote race where Rahul Gandhi just crashed his car, but you can see that it's a pretty fun game. So try to collect as many votes as possible, play as your favorite politician, and hopefully try to contribute to their victory. So go check that game out on indiapostlive.com. Also, you can use Twitter, hashtag IndiaPostLive to your tweets, or use our Twitter handle at IndiaPostLive. So today we are talking about, and we really shouldn't have had water in the studio for this one because we're talking about Scotch and how Scotch is on the rocks. And that too because of a trade row that seems to be erupting between India and the European Union. So what is the nature of this conflict? First, let's get you the story.
Days after the European Union banned entry of Indian mangoes into its markets, New Delhi too cracked the whip on European alcohol exporters. For the past 3 months, consignments of premium whisky from Scotland have been held up at various ports for want of proper labelling. The European Union has asked New Delhi for more time to do that. Indian authorities are yet to respond to this request. If this diplomatic row is not resolved soon, the retailers may soon run out of foreign-made liquors. While the row will take its own course, what will pacify the Scotch lovers who will be left high and dry?
So what will pacify you? Would that make you agitated or would that make you run to a Scotch right now? Do write into us. Whatever your point of view is in this entire discussion, we'd love to hear your voice about it. So just go on to India Post Live and talk to us about it. All right, to discuss this issue, I have with me Mr. Amit Goel. He's the Vice President of the Federation of Indian Exporters Organization. Thanks very much for coming in. He joins us via Google Hangout from Mumbai. Also in the studio, I have with me Siddharth Saikia. He's a senior special correspondent with the Financial Express and has been covering trade ties between India and the European Union and other aspects of business-related journalism for some time now. Also, Lakshmi Krishna Kumar is here. She's our deputy editor at India Post Live and has been a business journalist for some time now and understands the nuances of these kind of trade tirades that are going on between the India and the EU. We'll also be joined by a host of other journalists, and of course, we're looking forward to your participation as well. But Siddharth, to set this up, just explain us what the entire controversy is about and how serious is the threat over Scotch not being there anymore at our liquor stores.
See, Ishan, the entire story is little more than what just stopping India, just stopping Scotch coming into the country. It's more of a labeling issue put forward in a simply to understand this matter. It is that every country has their own specifications in different products and also in food products when it is being imported to the country. It's very important for your not only for your health, but since we all know every country has different geographical regime and different environment, so there are many pests which are not allowed into a particular country. Now, what India is saying that India imposed this labeling norms in 2006, which came into impact, which were affected from 2011. Now, this says that the Scotch being imported to India, they should have a declaration of the ingredients used in the Scotch, which most of the Scotch makers doesn't disclose, maybe say it's their business secret. Now, what India is doing is not very different from what other countries do, like most of the other countries like China, Japan have also this labeling standards. What India is saying is not different from what the WTO global benchmarks are. India is at very par with the WTO benchmarks, and we definitely need to know the ingredients that is coming into a country. For example, as you have rightly said, the row over the mango exports to the EU and primarily to the UK. Of course, this constitutes a small 4 to 5% of our total agricultural exports, but the important fact to look at it is that what the European Union is saying that the Indian mangoes are carrying a certain kind of pest which is not allowed in their country. So, if every country has the standard indications or rather benchmarks of what products coming into their country, there's nothing wrong in India implementing a import benchmark. This is what it's all about, but we understand these are very trade sensitive relationship, and in a way also depends on the diplomatic relationship, but in no way India should compromise on its labeling benchmark and should be very careful what's it's coming into the country.
All right, fair enough. But as exporters, Amit, how do you see these kind of are these strained trade ties between India and the European Union, or India and the UK, that you don't take our mangoes, we won't take your Scotch, that kind of an attitude, or is it just a common practice in international trade? Well, we seem to have lost that connection with Amit. But Lakshmi, it's not the first time that these kind of trade rows have erupted, have they?
This is not the first time, but the way that the picture that India is painting. Of course, India should stand, for by its the rules and regulations and all of that, labeling everything, of course. But the picture that it paints, it's always when there is something happened that India takes the step. I mean, if it was, it came into, it was effective from 2011. Now, this is 2014. I mean, what took India so long to react? I mean, just because the mangoes were banned. So, taking it to that level, it's not painting a good picture of India and our, trade pacts.
Yes, it certainly seems very reactionary. Is that really the case, Siddharth, or are these two issues divorced?
See, Ishan, this thing is, of course, maybe in media both the stories have simultaneously come maybe at the same time, giving an impression that one is related to other, but I don't think it's really the matter. The Scotch thing has been going on. Our government has been saying that the labeling of Scotch is a must for the past 6 to 8 months. And Indian customs have been stopping the Scotch. There have been several warnings being issued. The Scotch and other, even there are some cases with the chocolates from Swiss, which are very popular in our country. So our country has been saying it for the past 6, 8 months for giving this benchmarkings. And of late, the mango issue has also come up. Maybe the environment looks such, especially what happens between India and the US in the recent past and other issues, it may look that both these things are related and it's maybe more of a diplomatic row, and one country is saying you are not allowing our product A to your country, so we will not allow product B to our country. But these are two separate issues where each country is standing to its benchmarks.
All right, but I mean, these kind of benchmarks are the big negotiating points, are the talking points at trade talks. And I mean, we know what has happened to from GATT to WTO to, I mean, it's not really worked out. And can they ever be worked out, Lakshmi?
See, the way things are going now, what we see right now, it looks a bit unrealistic, all of a sudden without, pre-warning, nothing, it just, the mangoes get taken off, and it's definitely going to affect the market in the bigger sense, the Indian market, the mangoes, the farmers, the price is going to go down, and it's going to, be of huge consequences. So it can escalate to diplomatic levels, because it did in the past. So that way, it's not painting a very soft picture, because diplomacy is all about whining and dining, being nice. Here it is going going to another level, and it is affecting trade. It is affecting the economy as well.
And Ishan, there's one more point in this. When it comes to the food products, there's always this GI identifications. For example, a basmati rice. Globally, it's a benchmark that basmati rice comes from this region of the world. It has this ingredients and all the other this features, this good things or this bad things and all these things. So most of the food products globally traded have this GI benchmarking. It's being recognized across all countries. So when there is a product is being has a GI benchmark, and it's been going to a particular country, so definitely the country knows what is coming in. So these things doesn't happen all of a sudden that one fine night you stand up and say, okay, from tomorrow we don't allow this product to a country. You already know where it is grown, how it is coming to India, what can be the side effects, is the population in that particular geography is used to consuming that kind of food products. So these are all known things. It happens over a period of time. It's not that overnight a country bans a product or allows a product. There's a long discussions which goes to make things happen.
All right. In fact, New Delhi has, in fact, said that we have informed the embassies that the labeling and listing requirements have been in place since 2011. The industry has been asking for more time to meet the demand of one festival season or the other for the past 2 years. We are not prepared to oblige anymore. So this certainly seems like a serious threat, Lakshmi, for a Scotch aficionado as well.
Of course, I mean, I think there should have been some sort of a, I mean, letting the people know, that you could just have and, have your stock and be relaxed till the time they've asked for the labeling to be ready and all of that. I mean, so it would be a big shock for a lot of people. And, who'd
But
want to.
is the threat real, Siddharth? Is the threat real that Scotch won't be available at the liquor store? We'd run
I
out of
don't think
Scotch.
so. India is a huge country, and I'm sure
They
all
can't
will have
decide
a
on the
good stock of Scotch coming into the country. But one
But with
very
the election season underway, I think we might have run out of some of
yeah.
that
So,
stock.
but many people might have stored their quota. But one thing that's may impact so-called Aam Aadmi or the common man is to see that this thing being escalated. That tomorrow, if you go to buy a Scotch, and maybe the retailer charge you the premium, saying, "Ki sir, this no more comes to a country, so it's a premium now." So maybe
So consumers need to be aware that the cost hasn't increased, that it's not off limits right now, or it's
yeah,
not off the stock.
it's of course it cannot be off limit overnight. Though I cannot.
So if a retailer asks you for more for Scotch, saying that it's been banned or it's not there, well, that is incorrect. Do not get into that argument. We have Amit Goel. Amit, can you hear me?
Sorry if I got.
Yeah, you got disconnected, Amit. So we've been having this conversation about Scotch, but the fact is that as far as trade ties are concerned, they seem to be a little strained between India and the European Union. As the Federation of Indian Exporters organization, do you feel that is necessarily the same? I mean, that's the impression going out in the media, that you ban our mangoes and we ban your Scotch.
No, I don't think so. I mean, after the American continent, EU seems to be a largest trading partner, and traditionally we've enjoyed a very good business relationship with the EU. And we all are looking forward once the new government comes in about the FTA, which is going to be like a springboard of doing business with the European Union. And I think, mangoes and the entire controversy, it's quite unnecessary at the moment. It's only about $48 million worth of, mangoes being exported from India. It's a very small part of the total business, but it has a lot of sentimental value to the Indian exporters, because it's, the king of the fruits, and banning a king of the fruits for a very petty issue, I think, is kind of being blown out of proportion by the European Union. And I'm told that the Commerce Ministry and the Commerce Secretary are in touch with the European Union governments, and probably a solution should be found, because I think the relationship goes much beyond just the mangoes.
Amit, I want to ask you one thing. Do you think that our government should have a more proactive and little tough on when it comes to the standards of importing these things? Because we generally don't see European Union countries and of course US or even countries like China bowing down to this kind of a threat, or if I can call it as a threat or some kind of an issue, saying that. Do you think our government should put up a more strong?
Yeah, right, because you guys have to adhere to the same
Yeah.
norms when you export. I mean, you have to match up to those stringent norms. So do we enforce those norms on the same scale over here?
No, I agree that, as far as the norms and standards are concerned, definitely no country, whether we are importing or exporting, the standards cannot be compromised, because, and especially when it comes to food products. But you will have always, when you're doing business, stray cases of, some, maybe it's in some kind of pesticides coming in it, or some inferior quality of goods getting into the Indian country. But that doesn't mean you just overnight you ban a product, because it has a long effect on the down the line, the entire production chain. I think we need to be in constant dialogue and constant touch. I think the Indian government has taken a tough stand. They have been very proactive in the term. The commerce minister himself, I'm told, is in touch with the European Union, and we are hopeful that a solution will be found. It's not a question of bowing down or anything. It's a matter of trade between two countries, looking at it on a long-term basis and trying to work together. I think sometimes when there is a disconnect or a breakdown in communication, you have these kind of issues. But I think we need to be engaged more regularly with the European Union and other countries, I think.
All right, just to give a sense to our viewers about the toughness of safety norms, how would you rate the European Union safety norms compared to the US safety norms in terms of food product safety norms that you as a FIO have to adhere to in terms of various export organizations or export houses that are associated with you?
I think that comparatively, I think EU has definitely more stringent, more higher norms as compared to the rest of the world. But said that, it's not that the other world parts of the world would accept any inferior quality goods coming into their country. And even in this particular case, the government of India has immediately written to the EU that we have these packed houses where all the mangoes can be packed, and those packed houses have very stringent packing and quality standards. So as of 1st April 2014, the government has made it mandatory that all mangoes that will go out of India would be only done packed at the packed houses. And that's what the plea the government has taken, that don't arbitrarily just ban the mangoes, uh, except goods which are getting packed at the packed houses, because those packed houses have very high standards. So I think if that is adhered to, then probably the problem should be sorted out.
Amit, one thing I would like to ask you is that of late in the past year and a half, we have seen that such kind of issues been coming up quite often. Like India is already fighting in WTO about using of solar films in the country. Like when India auctioned solar projects, India wanted to make reserve some capacity for the indigenous exporters, to which the European Union and WTO objected. It was a big global debate across all renewable energy space. The talks went to WTO. Our commerce minister took it up at a
All right, I think we seem to have lost that connection, but it has been happening for some time now. And as far as the muscle flexing goes, it's happening on both sides, and it's a matter of who blinks first, isn't it, Siddharth?
yeah, we see that in the past a year and a half, the things have, too many issues are coming up. Every 2 months we hear such kind of an issue. Now it's really to be seen is like where exactly are we knocking heads with each other? Is it some kind of an uh, back, some diplomatic issues which is pushing up these things into the surface, or how is it? Oh, Amit is back. Yeah, Amit, I was just saying that of late in the past year and a half, we see more such issues coming up. These issues has come to this solar films. Now it's mangoes, Scotch. Why do you think that such issues are coming up more in the past 1.5 years? What's actually bringing them to surface? Why is it happening so much quite often now?
Well, I think there are two reasons, I think, frankly speaking. One is that, as India's exports grow, there's a lot of push from the government side that we need to diversify our product basket. So more and more new products are getting exported. And when that happens, sometimes, a lot of the Indian manufacturers also may not be well versed with the international norms and standards. So you could have, whether it's an agro product or it could be a textile product, it could be any product. People probably are used to selling it in a different market, and when it comes to exports, these standards are really high. So lack of knowledge could be one area where people are exporting a certain product which is not of international standard. The second could be the world over. I think people are getting more health conscious, more stringent measures are coming in place. And I think you will find that as we go forward, as our exports increase, our product basket diversifies, these kind of issues will come up. That's why I said that it's very important for all governments to be engaging on a continuous basis, because we should not have situations where a product suddenly gets banned. You should have a situation where something is flagged off, there is a problem with a product, and let's give it a month's time to resolve that problem, and then if it's resolved, continue with the import or export of that product. I think a dialogue on both sides for any product, any commodity, is the key to success.
All right, fair enough. So, Lakshmi, you wanted to add something?
No, no, I was just even US, like the whole trade protectionism, Anand Sharma himself, had talked about it. The pharmaceutical companies suffering, and it's a number of things there. So I don't know. Are we painting a very laid back, image, India as a country? Because it is, we saying all these things, but is there a dialogue actually happening? Are things, going forward?
Amit, I mean, if you're privy, I mean, you're privy to various government interactions and government policy and their initiatives, even track two as far as trade negotiations are concerned. So, are we really on track as far as international trade goes, or are there still a lot of lacunae?
No, no, no. I think that we are completely engaged, whether it's the US, European Union, or other ASEAN countries. We are on a regular basis engaged with those governments. A lot of negotiation discussions always happening, and which may be not aware to the general public in large. And even we as a trade body, we are constantly updating the government, working with the ministries, keeping them abreast of whatever the stringent laws that could be coming in the near future for a particular product, so that we can counterattack it beforehand. But I think that these kind of issues are going to keep coming up. It's just that uh, probably in India we make a big issue about it, but otherwise these problems will come up. We need to find ways, and these problems do come up with other countries also. And of course, in America, whether it's pharma or whatever, definitely there is some you can say they kind of protect their own industry or whatever. I'm not sure, but we need to work with the government, and we are definitely working with the government.
All right. On that note, Amit, thanks very much for joining us. We
Thank you.
know that you had to go for another meeting, so thanks very
Yeah.
much for coming in
Thank
and
you so
sharing
much.
your point of
Thanks.
view from the
Thanks.
perspective of the exporters organization. But as far as the importers go, Siddharth, they're still a little worried about labeling norms and
Yeah.
the fact that Scotch could be
Yeah.
off the on the rocks, as we're
Yeah.
calling it.
I think a very important thing to see is that how does it impact the domestic market here. I believe that, as we all know, Scotch is a very popular drink. There's a lot of resorts, parties happening every night, and we are just on the weekend. So let's see, like maybe from the next weekend we might have to pay little premium for a Scotch, or how things goes.
All right, but you wanted to add something to that,
No, I
Lakshmi?
was just talking about the Indian Scotch market, or are they going to celebrate? But I think it's going to be really sad in that case, because it's not even Scotch. It is not made of malt and grain.
Yeah.
It is actually
Yeah.
rum. It is,
Yeah, yeah.
it is
Even the most of the
molasses.
Scotch available in the Indian market is blended.
Yeah.
And I think the premium Scotch,
It's not Scotch.
yeah, the percentage of actually the Scotch, premium Scotch consumed in the market would be much less.
Yes.
And
So in other countries, it's called rum.
yeah,
And we call it Scotch over here.
Because
Yeah.
it's Scotch, and
Yeah.
it's made of molasses. I mean, and
Yeah.
not grain
Yeah.
malt. So
Alright.
it's going to
so
be
maybe
sad.
maybe next time you fly out for your holiday to any of the
better stock
destination,
up.
you better stock up and bring some good Scotch back home.
All right, on that rather cheerful note, we'll say cheers to this discussion and wrap this up. Thanks very much for coming in, Siddharth and Lakshmi. It was a pleasure to have both of you on the show. Well, you too can join in this conversation. Just hashtag India Post Live to your tweets, or use our Twitter handle at India Post Live, or go to indiapostlive.com and log in and post your comments over there. What do you think? Are you going to be celebrating? Are you going to be worried about how much your Scotch would cost? Or are you going to compromise with rum instead? Whatever your point of view, write into us. We are waiting to hear from you. Thanks so much for joining in.